This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
Welcome to Knife Talk, the podcast for knife makers, anybody with an interest in making knives. With myself, Craig Lockwood of Chop Knives, Jeff Fader of Fader Knives, and we're hoping Mareko Malmasi is going to be able to join us. He's having some issues with his connection, but we're hoping we can get him to join us. Jeff, it's been a week. How are you?
I hope he comes in, because obviously it's much more fun when there's the three of us. It's, as always, for some reason, I don't know what happens during the week, but we definitely I always feel like in this week, I compile through the week. I think of these things that happen. I'm like, okay, I'll remember that for pod. I'll remember that for Knife Talk. I'll remember that for Knife Talk. So I got a list of things that went south and north. How are you?
I've got a huge list. To the point of, just before we come on, my wife was like, well, you know what you're going to talk about this week? What's been happening? And I'm like, oh, geez. Because we've had a busy week. So she said, you need to write them down because you're going to forget them. So I'm going to go through the bads and the goods of the week. The bads is going to take a long, long time. The goods are going to be, I'm going to skate through. So wake up the day after the podcast last week, mouth full of cold sores. Oh. Really bad. And it's the worst. It's the, when you can feel them coming, they start to itch. Anyway. So, I've been pretty snowed under recently. And I think it's just, when things get on top of you and you're a bit stressed, all that kind of stuff. I think that's what brought up the cold sores.
Do you get that a lot?
Every few years I'll have a big flare up. Yeah. But generally I'll have maybe one or two a year. Nothing serious.
Right.
But I've still got some scabs there anyway. That's
all right. Okay. All right.
Nobody needs to know about my scabs.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
So then we get to Monday morning. We then get an email from the kids' school. So the kids are meant to start school in September, just a couple of weeks. And it's been a long process of meeting the teachers and getting them used to it because, it's a new language for them and all the rest of it. And they started, they're only 2 and they start school full time. So it's a lot. But we get an email from the school saying that teacher has now left and there's going to be a new teacher. We don't know who it is yet. We'll see you on the first day of school. And it's like, oh no. So my wife is stressing crazy about that. Later in the week, we then get a phone call from our agent who we are told had sold our house for us weeks ago. And he then went off on holiday. So we were told we at the time we had 8 weeks. We had to, pack up and get out because into the new house. Anyway, he comes back from his holiday, gives me a phone call and says, Craig, they've pulled out. I'm like, whoa.
What? I thought it was a done deal.
Exactly, a done deal. We'd negotiated a price and all the rest of it. And he said, yeah, they were in. He didn't get them to sign before he went away on holiday. He then come back from holiday and they'd blown cold. They'd seen something else or whatever it is. So it was like, it's all down to this dude. And we're just like,
that's like negligence.
And it hit us sideways because we've been planning we bought a mobile home to put in the new house just in case it wasn't ready in time. And lots of costs, lots of work being done to rush.
What was your level with him on the phone? And did he speak English or was he French?
He's French, but he speaks very good English.
What was your level? What was your level with him?
It wasn't good. At first, I just needed him to get off the phone because I needed to calm down and speak to my wife and tell her because she's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Because
so did you get the heat? The heat.
Oh yeah,
of
my
anger?
arms are going. I'm all
yeah.
And anyway, it wasn't good. But that's not all. So then, because we've been shipping stuff from this old house to the new house, and I've got this van that I've had for years, and it's not a daily run. I use it occasionally for moving stuff. It's a big old van. Driving that, and it just blew up. The engine just went bang, bang, bang. Poof. That blew up, and apparently that's now unfixable. And I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. So I'm like, things come in threes. That's the 3. That's the 3. We're all good. Right. Now just this morning. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm looking in the bathroom, looking in the mirror.
Scabs are coming off inside your mouth.
Exactly,
life's going to go back to normal.
Yeah, it's all horrible. Right. And I'm just like, things can't get worse. I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine. So I'm brushing my teeth now. I got, the electric things going on. And all of a sudden I feel something gritty. I'm like, well, it's not a scab. This is heavier than a scab. This is gritty. Like, I pick it out, and it's a bit of my tooth.
Oh, no.
So my front tooth, the back side, literally just fell off. Just fell off. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So I'm panicking now. I'm just like, my tooth's going to fall out, So off we go into the nearest town. There's 2 dentists there. Going to the first one. They're like, we can see you in December. I'm like, whoa. Sorry, December? It's like the beginning of August.
That's like an emergency visit.
Yeah,
to the dentist like that.
So anyway, there was another one. So I went to the other one. And I said, look, my tooth is falling out here. And they were like, okay, we could maybe see you in December. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I said, what? They like, you in pain? And I'm not. To be honest, I'm not in pain. But I'm aware that this is probably going to fall out. It's obviously rot. Something's happening there. It doesn't look like, but something's happening. So I said, yes, I'm in severe pain. She said, right, the best thing you can do is go to your doctor. He'll give you antibiotics and some pain relief. I'm like, for 5 months? For 5 months? She said, yes, yeah. She said, then come back in December.
If you're drug addict by December.
Oh, my God.
So, I have to cancel my dentist appointment because I got to get into this recovery program.
Exactly, yeah. Right. So it looks as if I'm now going to have to fly to the UK for a few days. And
just for the tooth?
Just for the tooth. I'm just really worried that I don't know what's happening. It could be worse than I think. I'm not in pain, but if bits fall off your tooth, it's not good. It's not good.
You're not diabetic, are you?
No.
Okay.
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
So on top of that, my wife has been really ill, almost bedbound for the week. We're also potty training our 2-year-olds, ready for school. So there's literally pots of shit and piss all over the place because I'm trying to do all the cleaning and tidy and get some work done and all the rest of it, and it's just like, then the dog gets ill. So I'm pretty sure the dog has helped himself to whatever's in one of the parties because he's throwing up everywhere. Oh, man, the kids have turned into like the most argumentative, like 9-year-olds you could possibly think of, but they're 2. It's not good. France is going into effectively another lockdown. Honestly. So we had a gig planned and that's all out the window.
Oh, yeah. You were going to play the last night.
It was going to be last night. So all venues, if there's going to be over 50 people there, everybody needs to show their health pass, which is proof of vaccine and all the rest of it. Right. And small venues just haven't got, the ability to, to monitor all that. So they're all just closing down. So, yeah, so the only way you can get out, obviously, is showing your vaccines. So even shopping and things like that, certain shops, you got to show your vaccines. Now, my wife, she's got a bit of a medical issue at the moment, so she can't have a second vaccine. So that leaves everything down to me, so she can't really go anywhere, so I need to do everything. On top of that, I've got packaging delays for these folders, which I was hoping to launch by now. I haven't had time to fart this week. A nice relaxing, comfortable fart. I've been squeezing a quick one out and get on to the next thing. It hasn't been good. That
sounds awful.
Yeah. There are some positives to this week. So
go ahead.
As much as France is almost on lockdown, they've opened the borders so people can come in and out freely. Yeah, it seems ridiculous if they've been vaccinated. So my sister, who bought a house over here way over a year ago, which she hasn't actually seen yet, she's coming over to stay with us now. She's been fully vaccinated. She actually works in a doctor's surgery, so we know she's good. She's tested like every day. So she's coming over, which would be nice because it'll give me an extra pair of hands to sort of help out, but she's looking forward to seeing the kids and that kind of thing. The folders are virtually, they're finished. I'm just awaiting packaging. And other good news is we're not going to be living in a mobile home for 6 weeks because we've got more time to finish our house. So
did you fire this agent? Because, is there any type of, in the United States, you could potentially, this could be a lawsuit. You could, you could sue this person for,
first of all, Nick,
I don't know if it's negligence or something else.
The old herp. Now,
this is not the way to start, Nick.
I suppose it's a kind of herpes, but hey, let's,
Nick, this is
go easy on me. I haven't had a good week. Go easy on me.
Yeah, you can't start him with like the old herp. The old herp right out of the chute. You can't kick the guy while he's down. You got to bring him up, and then maybe the whole herp a little later. Do the callback, but you can't shoot him in the foot right now. Come on,
not yet.
Come on,
kick him out when he's down.
Yeah, come on, Nick.
I mean, it is negligent, I suppose, but we had like a deal where it was exclusively with this particular agent for however many months. But it's not. That's now finished. So we've already contacted a bunch of new agents.
Did he apologize?
Not really. Not
These
really.
French, they hate apologizing.
He gave us some sort of bullshit about, or somebody else is interested, and I need to come round, but I need to. And I'm just like, I don't believe you, and so anyway.
I don't think that Stephen Connor said it might be a lawsuit scenario. It's not a law. I mean, I don't believe so, but at the very least, I mean, I don't know, but it's like, it sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
it sucks. It's just so
lawsuits. I'm sure maybe in America that they're more sort of litigious than they are over here. Over here, everybody just shrugs and goes, "Oh, well,
no." I mean, if this we would just as my father would say in Yiddish, he would say, "Just shrag a vault," which is just throwing your hands up in the air and just bitching.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much all I can do.
Yeah.
But it's been a crazy week. But I said my folders they're all looking lovely. What I have found with them is. So I did show them a couple of weeks ago. They've got a lovely, quite a thick brass scales either side of the folder. They react to fingerprints and oils and stuff on you, so they give a really nice patina quite quickly.
Right.
What I didn't imagine happening was just the oxygen getting to them, and it changes the color slightly, so it goes a slightly yellower, which I really like because that patina kicks in really quickly. Basically, as they are bought, I shall be giving them a final buff. They go into this special packaging which I've had made to seal them. So when you get them, it's almost this bright gold. And then over time, the sort of oxygen will get to them, and then they'll turn to a mellower sort of yellowy gold. And over time, as you're handling it, it's going to have even more of a patina. So I mean, this is one that I've had for probably about 5 months using daily in my pocket. And you can see it's not shiny, but it's got this really nice sort of patina to it, and it's pretty.
It gets a little more matte too, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I'm really pleased with them. So I'm just waiting for this packaging to arrive, and it's all cool. So it hasn't been a complete and utter shit week, but it's just been trying to find time to do stuff, and I'm just run down. Run down when you're just like everything is an effort, and it just so sitting down here to do the show today is it's nice to be able to sit down and just kids are in bed.
Yeah, but
the wife's not being ill, the dog's not being sick on my toes. It's all good.
And now that poor Mareko's not here, we got to work a little harder.
We do need to work hard. Yes,
just a little harder.
So your week, anyway, what's been going on? What's been happening?
I had interesting knife news that should be interesting to some of our listeners. I've had another run of humiliating medical not procedures, but like medical meetings, medical doctor's offices. I've had.
Does it involve a gloved finger? Is it a gloved finger involved?
I mean, it was not gloved, but I mean, it might as well have been close. It might have been close. I'll tell you all about it. So when I was on vacation, I had last episode I said that I had some customers that were not super pumped, and they weren't there. One of them was an interesting project, and it was a commission that we took on. I probably should have been more involved in the beginning stages of it, but we were commissioned to do a long serrated knife. Now, Tony did all the things. We're doing everything else, get all squared away. They knew what I was doing, and they knew the serrations and fine. I made it basically the way I do my normal serrations. It's just a small contact wheel and specific spacing.
Yeah. So this is like a longer bread knife kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like 11 inches long. So I kind of knew that I kind of didn't know that it was a barbecue guy. And they knew what I was doing. Like they knew the kind of serrated knives I was doing. So I didn't really think too much about it. So when I was on vacation, I got an email from the guy who says, "I love this knife. It's beautiful. But I got terrible news. It is not working the way I want it to work on this brisket, because the serrations are great and everything like that, but they're just too aggressive. They're too sharp. And what they're doing is they're tearing the brisket apart."
Yeah.
And, I was like, And I was thinking, he says, "Do you think you can fix it?" And I'm thinking, he's like, "I'm looking at other knives. Maybe the serrations are too small and maybe they should be bigger or spacing, stuff like that." And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't redo this knife. And then I'm
take the teeth down a bit, maybe, but it's.
Well, I mean, it can't. I mean, changing the serrations I mean, even thinking about it now, it just seems crazy. So at first I was just like, well, this guy knew what he was getting, and then I was just like, so I sent him an email and saying, I want you to have what you want. Send it back and I'll make you a new one. I don't know if I can fix this one, but at the very least, I'll send you a new one back. I said, but if you give me some sort of, I need direction. If you say serrated knife without any kind of information, I can't really go with what I do. But if I have something specific that you want, I can. So he sent me back a barbecue knife that they use. And it was massively different. It was the size of the serrations were different. The thinness of the blade was different. The spacing was different. And I thought, And I realized that my knife had a lot more material on it than the other knife. So I had the ability to, you know what? I can even cut off all the serrations down to the tops. So that it looks like it's just a flat knife. Oh, right. And then I can rethin the knife down completely. And then maybe I should be able to line everything up and do new serrations. So that's what I did. And I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to do something different. And if it didn't work, I was going to make another one. Yeah. But if I can fix it, I'm going to fix it. So write it down, thin the knife down, and then I change the spacing of the serrations. And I changed the diameter of I changed the contact wheel to be bigger. And then I changed my angle of the thing, and blah, 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 blah. New style knife. So the interesting thing was, actually so the interesting thing was I was fucking, grind it down, thin it down. Didn't put the serrations on, and I was like, I got to test it on something first. I have to test it because I don't want this to be, I'm like freaking out a little. I'm like nervous. I just didn't want to screw it up. So I was just like, well, find something in the shop that you can kind of do and I usually do that with serrations. I'll take another knife and then I'll just do a practice run, just to kind of make sure that. So I have a couple of these bullshit blanks fillet knives. I'm like, that's thin enough. I wanted to have some just decent geometry. I wrote down all the things, blah, 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 and I did this weird, like thin serrated knife.
Okay. Which is like a fillet knife, yes, yeah.
It's a fillet. Well, this is a fillet. This was meant to get thrown out. To be honest, I just had the blade, and then it's the difference. It's a shallower. You can see that the tips, all the apexes are much thinner. They're not very. It's not as aggressive. So it's more like you can see the tips are very. I run my finger over it. I'm like, cut my finger right away, and then I'm just like, okay, this looks good. And then I thought, don't throw it away. Just put a handle on it, and maybe you can make them. So I put a handle on it, and just add an old handle, and then now I'm going to fool around. So I do the new serrated knife. I fix his, put it in the mail yesterday, and I sent him a message. He's grateful. There he is.
There he is.
Here I am.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is there a delay?
No.
I think we're good.
Perfect.
Okay. So hit your record button.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So just to finish the story up,
trying to get everything. Yeah, go ahead.
So just to finish the story up, is I finished the knife and I sent it to him, and then it was great because it was like I really was happy that I was able to fix the problem without giving him extra cost and whatever. So then after I did that, I went to you came in the perfect time because I'm going to tell you my deep medical humiliation. So I went to my skin doctor. I've been saying, my wife's in the medical facility, my medical field, we have decent health insurance. I'm going to take advantage of it. And because of COVID, because of 20 years past 9/11, being exposed to being exposed to ground zero and being of a certain age, I'm like all in on like cancer screening and stuff like that. So my father died of a melanoma too, got skin cancer. So I'm just like, and my last skin doctor fired me because I had tattoos on my arms. He's just like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I digging for gold? I mean, this is like pirate chest shit. I get to dig for what, how am I going to? So we get an appointment and I went to the skin doctor and I'm thinking, all right, I had the colonoscopy. I'm going to have the urologist coming up. The skin doctor is going to be like 1, 2, 3 breeze. No big deal. Pack up this knife, sent it in the mail, go home, take a nice shower because I want to be clean. I don't want to be a pig when I go see the skin doctor. Yeah. Who knows? He's going to look at my arms and my chest and my back and whatever. So I go to the skin doctor, go up to the place. They put me in a room, and the nurse hands me a gown. She says, I want you to take all your clothes off except for your underwear and put this gown on. I was like, this is getting thorough. I'm glad I took a shower. So this little woman walks in, 20 minutes. I'm sitting in that room in the paper gown, and I'm also taking the gown off because I'm afraid I'm going to sweat too much. And I don't want I don't want the paper to be like wet from sweat. So I'm like going like this and trying to like be calm, and I don't want to be sweaty. I'm just trying to be like, I want to be like a clean patient. Yeah. So this little woman comes in, and she's just this little old lady, and she's asking me all these questions. And as soon as she sees my arms and then finds out that my dad died of melanoma, she's just like, well, you're trying to make it hard on me, aren't you? And I was just like, well, just to let you know, I got the tattoos before he died. So I didn't really, it was before the fact. So she's going over my arms, going over my history, asking me questions. And she says, okay, so what do you do for a living? I'm a knife maker. Oh, yeah, let's talk about knives. Then as we're doing this, more like aides are coming in, nurses' aides are coming in. These women are coming in every so often. And I'm just like, all right, well, this is going to be the way it is. She says, okay, now I want you to drop your pants. I'm like, okay, I'm going to drop my pants. She says, I want you to turn around.
Oh.
Okay. She says, now I want you to do is she said, I know this is going to be weird, but I want you to spread your cheeks. I said, spread my cheeks. I said, really? She said, yeah, because she said sometimes people get moles there. So as I'm bending over, spreading them, some more people come in the door. Some more nurses, some young female nurses or nurses' aides come in and just like, well, this is how it is. It's going to be.
Come and take a look. Come and have a look. Come on.
There's a famous tattoo, an old school Sailor Jerry tattoo of a monkey bending over, and then it says aloha on the ass, and the O is the O is the monkey. That's me. So then, okay, now turn around, and she goes, now. She says, lift up your jewels. She says it like that. This is this like older Jewish woman,
Wow.
just like she's trying to bond with. She's like, lift up the jewels, lift up the first one, lift up the right one, lift up the left one. And she's like got this like magnifying glass looking for moles. And then she goes like this. I'm not exaggerating. She goes like this. Now let's look at the penis. So she says, I want you, she says, lift the penis up to the left. I'm lifting the penis up to the left. More women are walking in and out. Women are walking in and out. Now lift your penis to the right. I'm like, and all I can think of is, I'm glad I have enough penis at this point that I can actually lift anything, because I'm so uncomfortable and cold. I should have been shriveled up to my throat. I should have had like a clitoris at this point. So I'm lifting my penis up. I'm thinking to myself, hey, you got something to lift. You should be happy. I'm thinking of like I'm thinking of the complete, the positivity of it all. I have penis to lift. And then she's like, and then next thing you know, she says, okay, you can pull your trunks up. So there's this woman standing there. She's seen me pull my butt cheeks apart. She's seen me lift my scrotum. She's seen me move my dick around like a fucking marionette. And then the doctor turns to her. She goes, "Do you know that he's a knife maker?" And she goes, "Oh, really? Have you ever heard of that show, Forged in Fire?" I swear to God. And I said, I'm like pulling my pants up. I just like manipulated my
that would have made your dick
genitalia.
shrink away. That final little bit would have shrunk inside you.
All my genitals are all moving all over the place, left, right, up, down. And I'm like, why, yes. And as soon as she says that, I start to get angry. I'm like, must I suffer more humiliation? We'll talk about Forged Fire, because I just love it how those guys can do that thing. And then, and then I'm like, am I done? Can I leave now? She says, yes, you don't have any moles. I want you to come back in 9 months. She's circled. I think she's circled a mole back here. There must be like one back here. I washed pretty good, so I obviously did. But she was circling them, and she was like measuring my moles. And she said to me, "You look good. I feel very confident." But she says, "You do have a lot of tattoos. I can send you to a place where they photograph you, and then they monitor you based on the photograph, and like AI is watching it all." I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking, you say I'm good, I'm good.
Yeah.
So that was so I promptly come home and my wife, she says, wants a full report. She's in medical, but she wants to know exactly what happens. Like she'll ask me if I'll ask specific questions that I would never ask. She said, did you ask about this? I'm like, no, how would I know to ask about that? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So she says to me, how did it go? And I'm like, well, I spread my butt.
Good look at my balls.
I said she got a good look at my ball. She said she got a look at my gooch. I said I had to spread the old cheeks, and she says, "Really? That is a very thorough investigation." I'm like, "Yes, it is." Why? Yes, it is. She's laughing. She said, "What did she make you do?" I said, "I had to lift my penis. I had to lift my testicles. I had to spread my ass cheeks." And she's just like, "Did they find anything?" And I said, "Well, there might be a mole by my asshole, but we'll find out in 9 months." So there you go. So I've chalked it up. I've done my job. She says, you've suffered a lot of humiliations. And I said, I got a cardiologist, I got a urologist coming up who's going to give me the hook. So I'm prepared, there you go.
Okay. Your week doesn't quite beat my week, but okay. That's
I'm happy about it. I mean, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. They didn't find anything right off the bat. So I got 9 more months. I got to go back in 9 months and she's going to look at my asshole again.
Nothing.
So maybe I'll draw something.
Is that a joke?
No, she's gonna look at my asshole again in 9 months. She's gonna look at she can check on my penis, she can check on my testicles, and she can look at my asshole.
Mareko, how's your dick?
It's feeling pretty good from here. That's a hard one to follow.
Yes.
Well,
Holy smokes.
True story.
We need some positivity, Mareko. We're 20 minutes in,
right.
and tell us something good about this week.
I got back from the lake house last Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday were cleaning days at the shop. Wednesday was my son's 5th birthday.
Oh, hey, wow. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, little Victor boy. We went out to the family. What is it? We started out with, he wants everything dino themed right now. He's obsessed with dinos. So he got tons of dino stuff. He got like a couple of dinosaur encyclopedias and a big stuffy dinosaur, and some out of his grandparents. He got some Lego kits for building dinosaurs, and it's amazing. Like it blows me away how good he is with these, like the very simple instructions they give. And like, these are 160 piece Lego kits, and he's doing it all by himself. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how are you doing this? It's amazing. Yeah, I love it. Back is doing good. Real quick, Grateful Knives was just asking, back, how's the back? Back's been good. So thank you for checking in on that. Yeah, we just had a really nice low-key day. And then, what is it? Yesterday, had a low-key day here in the shop, still kind of tidying up a little bit. My friend Dan Bittinger, who we've mentioned before on the podcast, super talented chef's knife maker. He lives about 2 hours north of me, and it is more affordable for him to drive down here to the welding shop and buy liquid nitrogen than it is to try to get it locally there up where he lives. It's amazing. So anyways,
I'm not surprised. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Well, he's on like the peninsula of Washington, and so they're like, oh, we only get a truck every once a week or something like that. Where here, I'm on like the main interstate highway that passes, from Canada all the way down through Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, and all the cities in between. And so it's easy to get gas here. So, all.
It's not cheap.
Liquid nitrogen. Yeah.
Liquid nitrogen isn't cheap, and you can't. You have to buy it based on the size of your dewar. You can't just get like a couple quarts.
Right. And so he popped by. He dropped off some steel that I've been interested in playing with. It's called A2. It's a high carbon tool steel. And so I actually just forged today. I forged a knife from some of that. And then I struggled my ass off to get in here with the podcast because my computer decided it wanted to run like -5 miles an hour. Yeah. So sorry about the delay.
No worries. It's looking good, and you're sounding good too.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I'm running off a hotspot off my phone instead of the Wi-Fi here at my shop.
You sound a million times better, by the way.
It's bizarre. So cool. I'm glad it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds great.
So A2 you use, and I think that's what Aaron Goff uses too. A2.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
Forging wise, it has kind of a pretty standard forging window. along the lines of like 52-100 and other kind of high carbon, because it is a high carbon. It's a 1% carbon, and it's got for a carbon steel, it's got a shit ton of chrome in it. It's got 5% chrome and a bit of molybdenum, which is also kind of like a carbide forming element. They also help kind of like those carbides help pin the grains and help keep the grain refined and small as you get up into forging temperatures and all this kind of other weird shit. But I haven't heat treated before. I've spent some of yesterday and some of this morning while I was forging, trying to figure out the heat treat process. I found a few resources. Unfortunately, there's scant information in knife engineering, but Laren Thomas does have a whole article on his website that he wrote about it. That was pretty thorough and helpful. So yeah, I'm interested. There's some makers using the steel to make their chef's knives, and we talked about kind of carbide banding before on the podcast, and A2 lends itself to carbide banding, but it's figuring out how like that kind of heat treating process. And so I'm going to be doing some experiments over the next couple days, probably the rest of the day and the next couple days too, kind of playing with it here and there in between other projects.
Cool. And you're using this on its own just as a monosteel blade?
Yeah, it's cool. Forged. I pulled it out of my heat treating kiln, and it's cooling down right now. I forged it extremely close to dimension because part of what I want to do is introduce that forging activity into that banding that is naturally occurring in the steel.
Yeah. Cool.
Did you guys hear about that Laren had somebody who was making his t-shirts?
Oh yeah.
I did.
Laren
see
Thomas.
That. Yes. Yeah.
Some like group was making knockoff versions of the Knife Steel Nerds t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I guess he wrote him a message and they stopped.
Oh, they did stop.
That's why he gets his next post is like.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
In his next post, they said that the guys just stopped. They stopped.
Nice.
So
that's good.
Crazy.
So if you want the official thing, you got to go to Laren's website, knifesteelnerds.com,
right? Francesco Mucci, who's in the chat on YouTube, said A2 is self-hardening, right? He's got a brick of it. He's planning to make drifts out of it.
Sure.
So yeah, is that air hardening then, Mareko?
It is an air hardening steel.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's part of the challenge of forging it is when you're done forging. I actually had my kiln fired up, and that's why it's cooling down now, is because I brought my kiln up to about 1450. So once I was done forging, I transferred it over into the kiln to then slowly come down so that it wasn't hardening as it was cooling off.
What are the advantages of having a good kiln?
Knife Talk is sponsored by Even Heat, the manufacturers of the finest heat treat ovens available. To find your next oven, go to evenheat-kiln.com.
Get yourself an Even Heat. It's going to help for things like that. Perfect example. But actually, don't go to Even Heat to get it. Go to one of their distributors who are Soul Ceramics, because we can get you a discount. We can get you $75 off. But you can spec out exactly how you want it. So any of the models that they do, they'll build it for you. They'll get it shipped in for you. They'll handle everything. Free shipping in the US too. So $75 off and free shipping. And that's with Soul Ceramics. And the way to get that discount is by clicking on the link in the show notes. And that'll take you straight to Soul Ceramics, and it'll apply that discount at checkout for you. So you're ready to go. Okay, I think maybe it's time for some questions.
Hey, man, can I ask you a question?
Jeffrey, would you like to take the first?
Well, yes. This is Hey Man, can I ask you a question? You can, for sure, if you want to interact with the show, there's a couple different ways. If you follow us on Instagram, Knife Talk Podcast, you can DM us questions. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll put something in the story saying, all right, we need these questions, and then people write them in and then I can grab them. Or if you're watching us live on YouTube or Facebook Live, you can put them in the chat and we'll try to squeeze them in if they're worth squeezing in. Sorry, I'm with you. Yeah. All right, so the first one comes from 13th Floor Forge. 13th Floor Forge, he sent us a message through Knife Talk, a podcast on Instagram. Recently purchased some unfinished knives from a master bladesmith who is retiring. I would like to know how I should go about crediting him when I finish them. That's an interesting question.
So I would unfinished knives.
Right.
I mean,
sorry, go
I'll
Marco.
jump in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just talk to the maker and see what, because for all he knows, the maker doesn't want to be associated. Nothing against 13th Floor Forge, but maybe he doesn't want to be associated with it at all. But and also I could see somebody potentially not wanting their name and that mastersmith kind of credibility that goes along with that name to be used as a kind of like a leverage point for sales.
We never, and we don't know any other details other than what he just wrote. So you're
Right.
100% right. That is one of the things that could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think a very simple default would be to just say, these were pieces that were finished, either in a description, whether it's on your website or on Instagram or wherever you plan on posting and selling, or talking to a customer. This is work that was started by somebody else, but I'm finishing it. That way you're not taking credit, I guess, for somebody else's work. But again, I think ultimately you need to talk to the maker, the maker of these pieces, and see what they, how would they like to be involved. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they just say, whatever, use my name, don't use my name, or they say, don't even mention me at all.
It's a tricky spot because it is true that what you were saying before, where you're leveraging the name, it's also to the buyer, you don't necessarily know exactly what you did and what the mastersmith did. Right. I am very against putting my name on any kind of collaboration I've done. I haven't done many, and I really, be honest with you, I stay away from them. I actually made some knives with Tomer, and I made some of his knives, and he said you should put your stamp on it. I'm like, I won't do it. And even the one I just did, that's like partially his, partially mine, I feel uncomfortable doing it. Even this bullshit, this thing I made, this goofball thing that I'm just going to fuck around with. I didn't make the blade. I didn't do any part. I mean, I just kind of put the serrations in, put the handle on. I'm not going to put my name on it just because I don't know. There's something I don't feel right about it.
Yeah. I think the only safe way out of this is to do as Mareko has said, speak to the maker, and make sure he's happy with anything that you do. But it may be just a knife for yourself to use anyway. It may not be, to sell on. But I think even so, I think you do the right thing.
Yeah.
And just
crystal
speak to the
clear.
maker.
Being crystal clear. There's a good question from Dustin Sheffield that you should ask.
Dustin Sheffield. So in the chat. So for those who are listening during the week, maybe you listen to the podcast in the sort of traditional way. You may not be aware, but when we actually record this, it goes live on YouTube and Facebook as well. So we have a bunch of people who are watching us live, and they can get involved. So they'll ask questions. So sometimes we refer to them. They sometimes try to give some jokes. They're never good. They're never ever good. But if you see us referring to that kind of thing, it's generally because we can see the chat that's happening both on Facebook and on YouTube. But Dustin Sheffield has done exactly that. So he's watching us live, and he said, do you think if Mareko and Jeff negotiated with Forged in Fire, you guys could get a KTP episode with Craig involved? Oh, geez, no. Anything to get you guys together. First of all, I mean, I don't forge. So
yes, you do.
It would be for comedy value.
Yes, you do.
I use my anvil to peen brass pins at the moment. That's about as far as I go.
Dude, we'll get you on there. You don't need. We get you on there.
So for comedy value, it could be quite funny. But no, I mean, Mareko, what are your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, we could get like a 3-way tag team thing going. That would be fun.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Step into that right out of
not with Jess, little moldy cock. No way.
I don't. Hey. The problem is I'm going to say something that we're probably not going to be ready for. Is we're not famous. Forged in Fire would get nothing from us being on there. It would be like, I mean, we are not even Z-level celebrities. So getting us on there will be funny for like a couple people, and most of the viewers of Forged in Fire are like, who are these three fruits? I mean, nobody's gaining anything from having us on.
Overly friendly with cock jokes and stuff. They were like, who are these guys?
However, and this has been said, if the three of us were the judges and Honor Kaglar was the host, it would be a fucking good episode. I guarantee you. It would be an excellent episode, but it's never going to happen. So I'm not,
love that.
Funny to think.
That's what I would love to see. That would be super fun.
Be great.
Yeah, Dustin is again in the chat has said with Craig as host and get Ben and Onar on as well as contestants. Sorry, let me just plug in here before I go dead. There we go. Okay, Mareko, would you like to take the next question?
Yeah, the next one's from John Marston. Excuse me. As a new knife maker, I'm an asshole. Am I an asshole for
I
having
think
to
you should
desire?
stop and just say, "I'm a new maker. I'm an asshole." I think you shouldn't have corrected yourself. I think you just kept going there.
As a new maker, am I an asshole for having to desire, no desire to sharpen knives for people? I constantly get asked. With an 8-month-old and a full-time job, I barely have time for my own projects. If I'm not, what would be polite thing to say? Just say no, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I don't sharpen other knives now just because it can take a lot of time, and if it's not your work. I mean, I clench like hell when I'm sharpening my own work. So if it's somebody else's work, it's not for me. And it's not rude to say you're not obliged to take on any work from anybody. So it's not rude to turn them down.
It's not rude, but people raised their nose. And I've said I don't sharpen other people's knives, and it's just what you're saying. I once sharpened. I had a friend of mine who had a friend who was a cop, and he says, "Could you think he was a cop?" And he's like, "Do you think you could sharpen my wife's knives?" And I'm like, "As long as they're not Cutco knives, ha ha ha." He brings a cereal box, a Rice Krispie box filled with Cutco knives, and I'm like, he's like, "Oh, I thought you were joking." And I'm like, no, I mean, I'll do it, but it was a little bit too much time, and I don't feel comfortable sharpening it. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable sharpening any of my friends' knives, just because like everybody does it all, especially knife makers. They do everything differently. I wouldn't want to do something I wouldn't want to damage someone else's knife. Now, if it was like, if it's my aunt or if it's like someone very close, and I would say, "Give me that goddamn knife and I'll fix it," and that's something different. But like, right. If somebody showed up with Mareko's knife, asked me to sharpen, I'd be like, "Go send it to Mareko. I ain't touching it."
Yeah. I actually do sharpen knives for people. I've done a lot of sharpening, and I've even done some repair work on other makers' work. But when I've done that, I've always talked to that maker first. To see what they think, sent them pictures, talked to them how, if they're okay with me doing it. I felt pretty confident about being able to do that. But again, like you guys have said, we don't have any obligation to anybody to do anything around knife stuff. And so if you don't have the time, especially if you don't have time for your own projects, taking on other people's stuff is not a priority. And I think it's perfectly fine to just say, "I'm sorry, I just don't have time." I don't have time.
Yeah, fully agree.
What are they gonna say?
You're gonna say you're being, "Oh, he doesn't have time to sharpen my knife. The knife maker can't sharpen my knife." I've heard that. I've heard that from people. Because people who don't, people are gonna ask you, are assuming you're like the corner hardware guy who does, they got the bench grinder for the lawnmower blades. So it's like people just assume that, like, there used to be knife sharpening trucks, and people used to drive around with them, So it's like they don't have that anymore. That's why I'm going to make Ginsu knives from now on. All serrations all the time.
All serrations. We've got another question from Maximus Knives, and Maximus.
Contact us via DM at Knife Talk Podcast on Instagram. It's that easy.
That's what he did. That's what he did. His question is it possible to over-temper the edge of a blade because it's ground too thin? I don't think so, because when you're tempering something, you're soaking it. So you want that whole blade to be at that temperature anyway. So if you're using something like, like an even heat or something, that's controlled well, you want that whole blade to come up to that temperature. If something's thinner, it doesn't mean it's getting hotter. It's all soaking at that same temperature. I suppose the only issue you may have is if you're using maybe lots of people using like home built kilns, that kind of thing, and you're putting the edge closer to the elements, the heating elements, and your reading that's being taken isn't that accurate. There's a chance, I suppose, but the whole point is to soak the whole blade at that sort of temperature anyway. What do you think, Jeff? Do you think it's possible to over temper?
I mean, the only time I've ever over tempered something is when back early when I was using a toaster oven to temper, and then I pulled these knives out and they were blue, like Smurf knives. I mean, it was like, and it was like very clearly they had, those little toaster ovens. The way they work is the heating element goes to a certain temperature and then it shuts off, but it doesn't stop it from rising. So you're like, if you're trying to hit 400, it's going to hit 500 before it drops down to 400. So, or your tray is too close to the heating element or something like that. Yeah, the only way to overheat something, over temper it, is to go over the temperature that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shim tempered knives 6 times, way more than 4 hours. So it's like, and it didn't change. It didn't change the temper. It didn't ruin the temper. It didn't change. It still had whatever straw yellow, but at the same time, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as long as you're using something that's very, very controlled, and that's what's great about like an even heat kiln, and the difference, like Jeff was saying, between an even heat and like your home is just like, yeah, your home oven's got a regulator, but it's not as refined as what an even heat will offer you. And if you like, my original even heat kiln has the coils around 3 walls, so everything but the door basically. So when if I was worried about the tip, maybe especially on long knives, being too close to the back elements, I just turn the knife around, and put the tip towards the door. But yeah, it's
that's the way I sleep as well.
Yeah.
Jesus. Jeez. Never misses never misses a chance. Never misses a chance. Go on, take a shot. You can't get a homer unless you take a swing at the pitch. I got you.
I don't know what to say after that. It fucked me up.
Well,
you derailed me. I lost it.
You should apologize, Craig. You derailed.
I do apologize. Which side of the bed do you sleep on? My tip always places the door. Yeah. Okay.
How dare you, sir? I think we should take as many questions from our listeners as possible. This Grateful Knives says, do you resharpen knives for customers, or do you advise them to be sharpened by a professional sharpener? That's a good question. What do you tell your customers?
I personally, unless I know a sharpener in the area or can easily find one, because if somebody's got a good reputation and are talented and skilled, like LA has a great sharpener, St. Louis has great sharpeners like Kasumi Kev, New York's going to have a good sharpener, and retailers who also offer sharpening services. But if I can't find one really easily, I just tell them to send it back to me, and I'll take care of it, and I'll sharpen it and clean up and make it look brand new basically again, and I'll send it back out. But I only suggest them going to somebody if I can find somebody reputable. But the problem is there are a lot of, like Jeff was saying, like the hardware sharpener. There are a lot of people out there destroying knives who are quote unquote knife sharpeners that don't actually know what the hell they're doing, don't have the proper equipment, they're not running at the proper speeds, they're using the right abrasives, they're overheating the steel, ruining temp, they're doing all kinds of horrible things to knives. So unless they have a strong reputation and they're easy to find again, like, I don't think you go to them. I think you send it back to the maker.
Yeah.
Now, if the maker's international, that's a pain in the ass, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I was about
there's
to
got to
say
be
that
somebody you can
with
find.
most of my customers, virtually none are here, local here in France.
Yeah.
So I always say, if you want to send it back at any point, I'll resharpen and give it, give it a once over kind of thing. But that's probably happened maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe 3 times possibly. But yeah, it's always the question you always get, how should I sharpen the knife? So I just tell them to get a ceramic hone, which isn't really aggressive. It's not going to tear at the steel. And okay, it's not sharpening, it's honing. But if you just do that regularly, you shouldn't really need to regularly sharpen then. But what I do with restaurant orders, and it's a good I suppose it's a sales technique, I suppose, once a year. So most of the restaurants that I supply are in London, around that sort of area. So I go back once a year anyway, and I'll go back and revisit all of these. And I'll sharpen. I'll take some stones and I'll sharpen there for. So I'll resharpen the knives whilst I'm there for a couple of hours, I generally get something nice to eat, and we have a chat, and we say, you looking for anything else? And and it's a good way of getting sort of that repeat order as well. And most of the restaurants I've worked with, I have had repeat orders, the following years, that kind of thing. Or could we have another dozen of that knife? Then So it's use it as a sort of sales technique if it's that sort of a batch for a restaurant, that kind of thing. But other than that, I offer the service, but I don't really see knives coming back for sharpening personally.
Me too.
Now, this would be a good time to run some ad because I'm going to start it. We have a new bit, guys.
Oh, okay.
We have a new bit.
Well, let's tell people about our belts first, eh?
Combat Abrasives makes the world's best abrasive belts for knife makers. Available in any size at unbelievable prices. Go take a look at combatabrasives.com and get 15% off with promo code KNIFETALK15. Do it now.
Do it now. And these are the belts that we use personally, and I think a lot of people in the chat here as well use them because they're the best.
They're great for sharpening too.
They're great for sharpening too. And what I love about Combat is they have such a variety of belts too. So, I mean, we all use the shredders, which are the 36, 6s, 80s, the ceramic belts. But they've got so many others. So generally what I do is when I place an order, I'll place an order for one or two belts that I maybe haven't tried before, You can buy them singly. And it's a good way to try new stuff. So yeah, Combat Abrasives. Make sure you get the discount. Make sure you tell them where you came from. Which is the Knife Talk podcast. And it keeps us happy, keeps them happy, and you're going to be happy with your shiny new belts. Jeff, we have a new bet. What's this about?
Look at you. All right, so last week I came up with a story, and I proposed a scenario, and I was looking for honesty. I was looking for truth and honesty, true honest reactions. This is kind of like came from our old, dilemmas thing, but now I can't count on our listeners to write us good stuff. So now I got to write the good stuff. So it was interesting because last week we talked about it wasn't really about responsibility. It was about whether or not if somebody used one of my knives it was me saying if somebody used one of my knives to hurt themselves or someone else, I would stop making knives. I got a lot of messages, not only in Knife Talk, but at my personal DMs. People were like, I think I hit something too close to the bone. Usually people care when all of a sudden they think it's affecting them. I wasn't really calling for a ban. I was calling for, me not being able to sleep. And that was pretty much it. So I thought this is a good time to ask you good questions. So what I'm going to do is, I haven't really worked out the name, but it's really called Tough Scenarios. And I'm going to hold you two to the fire because you're either going to answer honestly or your answer is going to be phony. Now, here's why I'm saying this. Because we have an audience, we're listened to on Mondays, we understand that there are going to be consequences to the things that we say. Sometimes I think we are tight, and sometimes I think that we say things that we are hoping that doesn't make us sound bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to propose a scenario. We're going to answer it, and I might judge if it's a phony answer or a fucking honest answer. Okay. All right.
We got the same question, myself and Mareko.
We're going to this isn't like a quiz. This is, we're going to be just discuss it. And I have three of them, and one of them.
Already getting competitive.
I get very competitive.
No, this is not I'm not giving points. you're either a phony or you're not a phony. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's either you're being full of shit or you're not. I mean, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to throw a little bit of juice in the blood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the first question is you've taken on a commission, and for whatever reason, you go over your budget by a mile. This happened to me. I just had my roof redone. I'm thrilled with it. He gave us a great bid. He did a great job. He went over the budget by a lot, like not 100%, but close to 50%. It was still worth it. But at the same time, in my mind, I'm thinking, what other business besides a contractor can you give someone a price and then go over the price and then ask for more money? It's like you can't do that when you go to the supermarket. It's not like you're buying a ketchup and Heinz says, oh, by the way, we're another 75 cents. It's like you see the price, blah, blah. So here's the question. And P.S., I'm thrilled with the roof. So you take a commission on, and for whatever reason, you go over budget by a mile. Maybe you broke the wood. Maybe something happened. After giving the original price, would you ever see yourself asking for more money?
This is very timely for me. Very timely for me.
See? Tough questions.
It's
Honest
a tough question.
or phony? It's your answer.
It sounds as if I'm going to be phony. I'd say no, because it's down to me. It's my fault.
Right.
I should have done the stuff up front. And when we quote for something, we build in a little bit, which is our profit, which is our wiggle room, that kind of thing. And if I haven't done that correctly, it's down to me. I really wouldn't put that down to the customer. It's down to me. But why do I feel that way when I've got builders every day coming back to me?
Right?
Why do knife makers and maybe sort of artisans, I suppose you could call us, people who do sort of one-off stuff, maybe of sort of a higher value, maybe, I don't know. I think most people would say that it's down to us. Once we've quoted and we mess up, it costs us
That's the price.
More. It's down to us. But on the other hand, if you get a builder come to quote for you, and your roof, and I'm having it literally every day. I'm having this.
Oh, but didn't
Builders
know
coming
this
back
was
to me
going to
saying,
happen. Right.
it's going to cost a bit more, I'm afraid. We discovered this, we discovered that. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, okay, yeah, it shouldn't be down to you. But, yeah, why do we feel that way as sort of independent makers? I don't know. But, yeah.
I have a friend who I call the grenade puller.
Right.
The grenade thrower. I call him the grenade thrower. He's a contractor. He does these bids, and then he goes over budget, and he doesn't tell the customer. Like if I was over budget and I knew that we had something in the contract saying I'm going to go over budget and we're going to be billed so and so and such and such, you would get a daily itemized thing on why we're going over. There would be no surprises. My friend, the grenade thrower, he'll go over budget and then he'll tell them when he gives them the bill, and they fucking a lot of them lose their breath. You're over by 2 months? What the fuck? I mean, I said, dude, you just go into places. I've been told that this friend of mine, he just drops a bill and runs. And I said, like, it's like dropping a bomb in a room, because it's like and this is the only business. Now, in regards to construction, obviously you're in a foreign thing, and there are things that are out of your purview. But I mean, my guy bought all this extra roofing. I'm like, you measured, why do you have extra? He's like, well, you could do something with it, right? I'm like, what? What are we gonna do with it? So what do you do? Let's say you broke a handle. Maybe you have a special piece of wood and you broke it. Maybe you're using grandma's leg bone and you broke grandma's leg bone. What are you gonna do?
It's a weird, like I said, I think it's weird because we're different, and I was just trying to think why are we different compared to like you said, contractors, builders, whoever they may be. And I think it's probably because all of our work is based on our reputation. We all know that anybody can go to a supermarket and buy a chef knife for $9.99 that's going to cut and do a fairly decent job. So I think the extra that we're charging, because we're not charging $9.99 for a knife, the extra that we're charging is built on maybe our reputation and what people are expecting from us. Whereas, again, I'm taking the example of a builder. They don't really care so much about their reputation, maybe. I wouldn't say so much about their reputation, but I mean, what they do is then being covered up. That's then on to somebody else to continue. What we make an artifact that's going to live, and we hope that somebody's going to cherish that finished artifact. So maybe that's why we think a little bit differently. I don't know. Mareko's been very quick. He's given this a lot of thought here.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Mareko?
I mean, I agree with you, Craig. If I go over, and I've done this several times where I take the time, I make steel, I forge a blade, I get it partially ground, and so I can reveal the pattern. I show the customer, and the customer's like, oh, and we've talked about this issue before, but the pattern wasn't ideal for what they were looking for that particular project. I set it down, I start over. I've done that on a couple projects. I did that 3 or 4 times. But for me personally, I take that as my responsibility. Because honestly, like I can see why, like I've been very specific. They've been very specific with me, and I've asked them to send pictures of what they're looking for. And so when I go back to try to recreate a pattern, it doesn't always work out. And I send them these iterations, and they're like, oh, no, blah, blah, whatever. So it doesn't work. But I think that's on me. And honestly, I think like your contractor going over, Jeff, unless he found like your sheeting underneath the roofing was moldy and rotten and that need to be replaced, or something, like there's unforeseen things that you just couldn't see because it's underneath stuff that had that kind of additional work. But if he fucked up and he didn't buy enough material or he underbid, like I think that's actually on the contractor, and they should be eating that and taking that out of themselves, out of their what would be their profits, because they made that mistake. But I think a lot of them have in their contract that is on the customer.
I think it's a normal.
So they have I think they have better contracts than us, basically.
I think that with contractors, I was talking to the grenade thrower actually a couple nights ago about it, my guy, and he said there's something called a soft price. The soft price is what you get in with. And then, I'm still happy with, when he gave me a bid to go, it was going to be 3 days. And then we're on day 5. And I walk into him, I'm like, I know this isn't going to be done today. You're not doubling my price, are you? And he says, no, I would never do that. I'm just like, I'm going to come up there. I'm going to take your ladder and I'm going to strand you up there if you do. And it was like, the final price we were happy with based on the project that he did. But contractors do that all the time. They do it. Yeah. They never, ever stick to the price that they give. Now,
and it's accepted. So
accepted.
I was just thinking that there's like a TV show that we watch over here. I'm sure it's around the world. Grand Designs. I know they do it in Australia. I'm not sure if they do it in the US, where somebody buys like an old house or whatever it is, or they get an architect in and they build these multi-million-pound houses. They're incredible. And the host, Kevin, who's a randy bastard, by the way, because the woman always gets pregnant halfway through the build. And it's the same host each time. I think it's Kevin again. But anyway, I'm going off track. He always asks what their budget is at the beginning. And they'll say, I don't know, 1.3 million, 1.5 million, whatever. At the very last shot, he'll always say, what did you end up spending on your builders? And it's always ridiculous. It's like 2.5 million, 3 million. But it's never a surprise that it's gone up this massive amount. It's almost expected. No. But yeah, imagine if we did that. We quoted a knife. We then, it's finished. We're about to ship it. Here's your invoice, and it's double what we'd said.
Yeah,
it's not gonna shoot. It's not gonna work.
People would lose their minds.
Yeah,
people would lose their minds. I like that question, and that was actually the warm up round. Just to let you know.
Okay.
They get substantially harder.
Okay.
I only have.
Before we get into the next one, then let's talk about another sponsor. So we started doing the Dharmasteel Knife of the Week. So Dharmasteel were very kind, got in touch with us. We did a show with them. We're big fans of everything that they do. But we decided we were going to look for knives each week that have tagged Dharmasteel. So they're using Dharmasteel as their material. And we're going to highlight one each week. So this one is a beauty. So this is by Stefano Compostela, who's an Italian maker. This thing is beautiful. So he's using the Bjorkman twist, which is the Dharmasteel pattern there, and you can see that. And that it's almost shimmering. It's a beautiful photo as well. It's a 22 centimeter blade. It's just beautiful. It's got a titanium guard and pommel using stabilized birch. Beautiful. So yeah, that's Stefano Compostela. He's on Instagram. Go and take a look at his work. It's beautiful. He uses a lot of Dharmasteel. And I think that's a particularly beautiful set of knives. But if you want to use Dharmasteel yourself, you can go to Dharmasteel online. And if you use Knife Talk, once you set up an account, if you use Knife Talk 10, you'll get 10% off your order, which can be quite substantial. So yeah, do that. Make something beautiful. Tag us, and we'll show the world.
So I'm rating both of your answers as honest. I didn't think either one of them were phony. I thought that they were both very honest. All right, now we're going to get.
Okay.
Yeah, no, those are the right answers. Those are the right answers, and that's what everyone should stand by their word.
What's that film with Robert De Niro and Meet the Fuckers, where he gives them all like a truth test, and they're in the circle of truth. Then if they pass this test, yeah,
that's right. Meet the Fockers.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the next question. Prepare yourselves, guys. It's going to get substantially harder. Your approach to make a knife for someone you don't know. They're offering life-changing money, and you can describe life-changing money however you. That's life-changing money. You can make whatever you want. You can make a paring knife. You can make whatever you want. Life-changing money. No questions asked. But the only thing you're told about the buyer is that he's a bad guy. And no one will ever connect you to that person. Your work. And you don't know what that means. He's a bad guy. Could be he cheats on his wife. Could be he's a mass murderer. You don't know anything. You're told him you're a bad guy. Life-changing money. You're making it, and then no one will ever connect you and to doing this transaction. Like he's not going to go on, you're not going to kill a bunch of people and wave your knife around. There's no one ever going to be able to connect you with this particular commission. Completely anonymous. You take the job. You don't know. That's the thing. You don't know what that means. He's a bad guy. You don't know. Life-changing money. The money that makes you wealth for your family, for your grandkids. This is a slam.
I'll jump straight in here. I'll jump straight in.
Go ahead.
Fuck yes. Yes, without a doubt. This is a business. I'm here to make money. I mean, if you were to tell me this guy is
Mohammed Atta,
I don't know who that is, but
the pilot for 9/11.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, it was the knife involved in, You don't
know. They'll never be able to trace you.
Personally, I think unless I'm specifically told he's going to use this knife to cause
harm
or maim somebody, I'm in. I'm taking the money. I'm running.
Right.
I'm without a doubt.
But you don't know. It could be as little as he's just he lies a lot or he's not a good person. You don't know.
Do you do a background check on your customers? You don't know. Joe Schmo, who ordered last week, he could be the next serial killer. You don't know.
No, but you're told. All you're told is
he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. Okay, I'm in.
All
I'll
right.
make him whatever he likes. Yeah.
Recco.
No.
Wow.
No.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't.
Why? Why? But you're not told anything. You don't know anything except for the fact that he's just a bad guy.
Yeah. No, I don't make it. I think.
Life-changing money.
Yeah.
Life-changing money. You don't know. It could be bad guys and he's just told a bad joke.
Nick in the chat has just said a really good one. OJ wants a knife and he's going to give you $1 million for it.
See, here's the problem with this. Is we don't know our customers most of the time anyway. Just because you suggest, just because you're suggesting that he's bad, but you don't have to know anything else. You're not going to take the money. You're talking millions of dollars. No strings attached.
Wow.
No.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would weigh on my conscience too much. I couldn't let that go. Even if he just cheated on his wife. That's it. Yeah, even if it's that. The fact that it could be any worst case scenario. I'm not interested.
And no one would ever be able to track. No one would
give a fuck. I'm not that desperate.
Mm-hmm.
But this could have been the last order that you received.
Ever.
That
wealth
guy
for your wealth for generational wealth.
I'm just saying the real last order that you had, that guy could be a crazy nut. I don't know.
Right.
Do you want my answer? Dustin Sheffield wants to know my answer. Of course I'm going to answer it. I'm not only the judge. I didn't actually when I wrote these, I didn't actually think about my answer. But now what I would do is I'm going to imagine that this is we're talking Adolf Hitler, Mohammed Atta, bad dude. I'm taking the money and investing in a shrink and a hypnotist. I'm gonna take some of that generational wealth. I'm gonna wipe this fucking shit clean and clear, and I'm gonna take care of my family. There you go.
Okay. There's no right or wrong answer there, like all these questions. But I like this section. I like it.
Now, if you were one of the listeners of this podcast and you want to suggest, you want to send one in, but Some of you guys write me like, the Magna Carta. You don't have to write me something. I mean, you don't have to write me something that's like long. I don't need chapters. You know what I'm saying? Write me a very clear, concise scenario, and we'll read it. And then here's one that I wouldn't suggest you do.
I've got one for you two after this as well.
Now, this would be an example of a question I don't want, because when we did hot takes, a lot of the hot takes, I'm kind of like off hot takes, because a lot of you guys, you write this, you're just trying to play around. Here would be an example of a question that I wouldn't ask and I wouldn't suggest, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. You're in a locked room with nothing but 1,000 bananas. Okay? Locked room, 1,000 bananas. You can't leave until you either eat all the bananas or you put one up your ass, and nobody will know. You eat the 1,000 bananas, or you slip one under your ass, up your ass. No one will ever know. No one will ever know. You get out. As soon as they're gone, the 1,000 eaten or one up the old poop chute, you're gone. No one will ever know. What do you do?
No question. Jumping straight in. Banana up the arse. Mareko, where you going?
I didn't think that you're not eating 1,000 bananas. Get the fuck out of here. He just answered the question correctly. I'm not eating 1,000 bananas, and there's no bathroom, so you're gonna be locked up forever, right? 1,000 bananas. How many bananas can you eat a day?
Hey.
20.
Yeah, I don't know. Ooh, you're gonna hate bananas by the end of that.
Yeah, that's 50 days. 50 days of eating 20 a day.
Oh, can't do it. Now, these are not the kind of questions I would suggest that our listeners ask, but I'm definitely going to, not be happy about it, but I might have to I'm not going to be as enthusiastic as Craig is, but I'm going to, I don't
Is this the green, really hard banana, or is this, slightly blacky and going a bit mushy? Where are we going with this?
I just don't know I just didn't realize how enthusiastic you'd be about. You didn't even think about it. You went straight. You didn't think, how many bananas can I eat? You were like straight up the ass.
Where's the bad part of this? Where's the bad part of this? Just having a good day. Okay, I've got a question for you, right?
Go ahead. Oh, by the way, I'm going straight up the ass too. I'm not sitting around for 1,000 bananas.
That's what she said. Right. So. Let's say you run a podcast which is fairly successful. It has a bit of a community behind it, so it has a listenership, and you have sponsors for this podcast, and it makes you a little bit of money, and it helps you give discounts to listeners, all that kind of thing. Now, one of these sponsors follows you on Facebook or asks to be connected on Facebook, but all they post are really, really shitty memes. Really shitty memes. They're not funny. They're just they're really shitty memes. What do you do? Let's go with with Jeff first.
Well, go with Mareko first. He hasn't even figured out if he's going to eat the bananas or not.
I'll take the banana. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Attaboy.
You probably even lube up with one banana. So the second one goes in just nice.
Listen,
he's gone for two. He didn't need two.
You guys are you're not phonies. You're officially not phonies. You're not phonies. You're not phonies.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very careful.
Let's say I nearly said his name. I nearly said Ryan then. I nearly said his name. This guy's on holiday in Jamaica. And he's just finding random memes and posting them on Facebook. He's just like, oh, not another one. What do you do? Do you talk about it on the podcast? Do you just unfollow him? Where do you go with this?
Is this a real thing? Are we, I hope this is like a setup. This is like a setup for a read, because I'm getting uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. Ryan, if you're listening, mate. No, Mom, enjoy your holiday. You're having a lovely holiday in Jamaica with your family. Lay off the memes. It's a bit thick. It's a little bit thick. But you do make a great grinder. Tell us about the grinder, Jeff.
Hey, listen, guys. Broadbeck Ironworks 2x72 grinder is a beast. If you go to broadbeckironworks.com, put in promo code FullBlast, Knife Talk 10. Don't put in Full Blast 10. Put in Knife Talk 10. You'll get 10% off your order. It goes horizontal. It goes vertical. You have arms. You have different attachments that you can, you retrofit to your grinder if you have one already. It's got awesome. It's great. It's a great grinder. It's my number one grinder. I got 3 grinders in the shop. It is my number one grinder by like a mile. And it's definitely I like it very much. And if I didn't like it very much, I really would be like very quiet about it. That's for sure. I'd be talking about Ryan's memes.
And Ryan, if you're listening, I'm joking. Clearly.
What is it? Wait, now I need to know what his memes are. What is he doing?
Is
he making me crazy? Like, does he have like one from like 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor, that kind of thing? Or is it like?
I think a lot of it is. Well, I think when you first connect with somebody, I think maybe the algorithm gets skewed a little bit. So they may be showing me just lots of his older posts and stuff, throwing it on. So it looks as if he's just there 24 hours a day putting these memes on. But yeah, obviously I'm joking. I am joking. Okay, do we have any hot takes?
We're out of hot takes, but we have unsolicited advice, and we have unsolicited advice. The hot takes, we're gonna have to take a break on the hot takes because some of them are just like, I read them and I'm just like, none of them are nuanced enough. So you can send them in, I'll hold on to them. But yeah, the answer, that would be the banana in the tailpipe might be a good name for the show, by the way. Yeah. Unsolicited advice is, generally speaking, we used to get unsolicited advice if like you post something and say, well, if you do it like this is the way you should do it. The way I do it, it's like we're asking you for advice. So D-Eggs or Degs33 says, I know you didn't ask, but if you're looking for an easy way to design simple parts for laser/water cutting, Microsoft Visio allows you to export in DXF. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so DXF file is like a 2D CAD file which you'd use for laser cutting, water jet cutting, that kind of thing. Okay. Microsoft Visio, right? Okay, that's cool. So yeah, if you're not using a Mac, using a PC, maybe Microsoft Visio. I'm not sure if it comes free on as part of the Office package, but yeah, that's nice to know.
Craig's new podcast is going to be Water Jets Are Us, right? You're not going to have a secondary podcast about from CNC to water jets? You're shaking your head no. Okay. No. Okay. The next.
Flat.
You can't win them all, man. Come on. The next one comes from Tyler Wilkins. I know you didn't ask, but when I make handles, I hold a piece of scrap leather behind the sandpaper. It helps even out the pressure. When he's hand sanding, he puts a little bit of leather behind this sanding stick too. Yeah. Give a little bit of that. Ian Jackart says, if you ever want to forge a full tang blade and don't have a guillotine tool, use a round bar and work it over the horn. If your anvil, if the anvil of your horn or the bottom of the fuller of your hardy hole. If I remember correctly, Niels Vanderberg has a great video on this free in his Instagram reels. If not, his YouTube should have them. So figuring out a different variation from using a guillotine tool.
Nice. Anybody in the chat, by the way, have tips? Tips that we maybe haven't covered on the show before? Something specific that you do that could help others? That would be cool.
Why don't you can read that one. One came right up from Dustin Sheffield, who's very active with us today.
Very active. Is that a guy from last week? He's not here, is he?
Well, I got a lot of messages about, we kept calling him Jacko. But apparently it's Yakko.
Oh, he's Dutch, wasn't he? Yes, yeah.
Everyone was giving us I was getting, too many people were slipping into my DMs and correcting me, which always is annoying. Just let you know, when you send me his name's Yakko, LOL. You're not helping me at all. So
he's off, obviously watching an Alex Steele video anyway. He's not here.
Clearly.
Dustin Sheffield,
that was you.
anyway.
That was you, Lando Novak. You have a tendency to kind of like get me behind the whatever.
Dustin Sheffield has a tip. I know you didn't ask, but recently used my hot stamp with some ink on a sketch. Like a stamp. I'm not sure what he means there. Used a hot stamp with some ink on a sketch. Oh, right, like okay. Just like a letterpress kind of. Right, okay, that's cool. Yeah, nice idea. Grateful Knives. I will get Yakko. So I don't know. I think they live together. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this relationship formed, and they're now a couple. Who knows?
Oh, and you were making fun of my joke falling flat. How dare you? This one comes from Chris King. Unsolicited advice. You should have an even heat promo recorded so Craig doesn't have to edit it after it plays. Loves you guys. Listen, it doesn't matter. That's that unsolicited advice. We like the way we do things. Okay. So we
the
need
even heat thing is a recorded. It's
Knife talk.
No.
See?
Knife talk. Knife
No,
talk.
but
Knife talk. Knife talk.
But he's saying that this old ceramics thing should.
Oh, I see. Yeah. We'll get Brian on the case maybe.
Brian's busy. He's got too much to do. Don't worry about him. Stanton Knives says, "Hey guys, I have a question." No, I'm not gonna do that one. Sorry about that, guys. That slipped through the cracks. Oh, you know what? Why not? It's here. Stanton Knives says, "Hey guys, I have a question. Do you Rockwell test all the blades you make? I'm looking to set up my game, and I'd like to be able to verify my hardness numbers. Any recommendations on brands or where you buy a hardness tester? Thanks, guys. That was supposed to be unsolicited advice, clearly.
Yeah. I don't do every blade, but I do one from every batch. So yeah, effectively they should all be the same within that batch. I use a Wilson hardness tester, which they're American made. I know lots of people use Wilson's. I got mine super cheap on Facebook back in the UK. So occasionally you will see things like that on Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, mine's a Wilson. There is like a Chinese import. I know lots of people are using it. For around about $700, which looks exactly like my Wilson. It's obviously just a complete rip-off, but it seems to work well. So yeah, there's options. Mareko, do you have a hardness tester there, and do you test all your blades?
I do have a hardness tester. I do not test every single blade because I'm basically I figured out a recipe for how I want to heat treat my blades. I did do samples and I hardness tested those, but I haven't changed anything since that. So, and I'm working with kind of like the same chemistry when I'm of Damascus, like different steels that I put in my Damascus. I'm using the same steels. I'm using the same process. So I don't really need to change anything. Now, if I'm playing with a new material or one that I don't use very often, maybe I'll run some tests and do some samples first before doing the actual knife. But outside of that, I don't really hardness test very often.
Yeah, and when I first got mine, I was testing everything. Any bit of metal in the shop was being tested, but that novelty soon wears off. But yeah, once a batch for me is enough. Jeff, you've got one. Are you using yours regularly?
I got mine from Chris Zepp. He had an extra one. I do usually when I do batches, I'll do every fifth one or so, or 10th, depending. I do heat treatment differently. I don't do it every day. I do it like batches of 10 or something like that, and I'll do a couple just to kind of see. But do people buy brand new Rockwell testers?
I've only seen people buying these Chinese import ones. By the way, Yakko is in the chat. Hello all. I'll listen on Monday. I just bought a mill and I'm on the road. He's Dutch. This could be a windmill. I instantly thought he's just bought a nice mill, but it could well be a windmill. Who knows? He's there in his clogs. He's there in his clogs, going to his new windmill, waiting to listen to the show on Monday.
See, here's the problem with some of these guys. Yakko, thank you. Lando Novak just didn't hear me when I said I'm not doing hot takes for a while, and he's giving a hot take. So I might as well read your hot take. Lando, you are really 100% on my. You're not listening either. You're obnoxious and you're not listening either. You are in the mold. You're the mole in my ass, and I don't like it. I'm going to get you snipped off. Hot take for you: canola oils for cooking. There are oils engineered for quenching. Cooking French fries isn't in there. I don't know what MSDS is.
I don't know.
Lando didn't even do a very good job, Lando. So, God. All right. So here's some more unsolicited advice. This one comes from Justin Blauert. Here's some unsolicited advice. Little cosmetic makeup triangles work great for cleaning up the epoxy squeeze out on the front of the handles and will not scratch the blade like some Q-tips will. Add a little acetone and go to work. Enjoy the show. Do you know what those little makeup triangles you use them, don't you, Craig?
No.
No?
All natural. I put filters on everything.
Oh, nice.
Fine.
Attaboy. Okay. Sharp on Sock says, unsolicited advice for butthole blades. One of our listeners, butthole blades. Change your name to BH Blades and make butthole drawing out of each. Make a butthole drawing in each knife that does not immediately stand out as a butthole. Never say your previous name again, but let your current fans create a buzz on the internet. Send me a knife if this makes you rich.
Shall we take one or two more questions from the public?
Yeah.
Do you want to take one, Morocco, from the list
Sure.
we've got?
Oof.
We got one here from Tradition Knives. He says, obviously, something has to reveal the stainless Damascus pattern, but I personally like the look of a ferric and / mustard patina on mono carbon steel and want to achieve the same on mono steel stainless. Do you have any tips for forced patina on stainless? Anything?
Forced patina on stainless? No. I've never really had a patina develop on a stainless personally. Jeff, anything?
I mean, not a forced patina, but I have put my 440C stainless in ferric chloride, and it definitely does change it into more of a matte finish than a satin finish. It doesn't really it doesn't really stain. It makes more like a
chalkiness, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like a matte finish, But it's like it's not good or bad. It's just a thing. So I mean, I know that they do make. Just to let you know, they do make gun bluing for stainless. There's a company called Jax, and we used to actually use it back in this metal shop where we had to darken some stainless steel railings. Now, I don't know if chemicals are good for knives. I know that there are people who do use gun bluing a specific way, and they say it's food safe. But I mean, the only thing I can think of that would change the color of stainless would be some sort of, acid or something.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could, I don't know, because I guess you could do like, because muriatic usually is used to reveal the Damascus on like Dharmasteel or something like that, like warm muriatic. So maybe you could have like a little sponge and dip it in the muriatic and then dip it on the blade, but then also have the blade ready to neutralize, because if you start getting like droplets running down the blade, that's obviously going to ruin the effect. I mean, I think what makes obviously a mustard patina look so great because the carbon steel oxidizes, but stainless has a clear, like a translucent oxidation, like you can't see it, and it's hard to kind of break through that. And yeah, how to do that? You could also, I don't know, do some sort of painted resist or something like that, and then use the muriatic. But that, and the ferric obviously is a good thing too. I think I've also heard of using what is it, half like 50-50 ferric and vinegar, and warm that up, and that's sometimes used to kind of darken stainless, at least to get the contrast. But it might also darken like a monosteel stainless, but I don't really know. I've never done it before myself, so it'd be something somebody would have to experiment with and play with a little bit.
Yeah.
The resist is a good point, because I know Andreas Kalani just had in his stories, he worked with an artist who used a nail polish as a paint and made a resist on the faces of the blades. And you probably could, if you were using resist and then put it in the ferric chloride, you would have that kind of weird, like matty part, and then your resist would kind of keep it the normal. But it wouldn't be exactly like a ferric chloride. I mean, it wouldn't be exactly like a mustard patina.
Actually, I just had an idea. So something somebody can do is, because I've seen different ways that people do this, what is it, the mustard patina on carbon, is they'll just like drip mustard from like whatever, a few inches above above the blade, and they could possibly do the same thing with like nail polish, but do multiple runs. So do a series on both sides, get the nail polish dripped on there, do just whatever, a few minutes or like a few seconds, 10 15 seconds in muriatic, clean it off, do it again, and just do like maybe 2 or 3 runs, and you will get kind of like a weird topographical effect from the different rounds and the different areas being resisted to create a similar effect to a carbon steel patina. or mustard patina.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't see why you'd
I don't
want to.
I'm pulling that out of my ass.
There's a reason for having a patina on a high carbon steel blade. So I don't see why you'd want to on a stainless. But anyway, another question from Buster Cooey, sent via Instagram. He loves the show, but if someone, he specifically says, not me, made a beefy 4x72 with all the bells and whistles, would the extra wide belts be worth all that R&D time? Loves the show and all the rest of it. 4x70. I mean, I'd imagine you're going to get a lot of sort of heat building up on that. I mean, sometimes if I'm doing like a flat grind on, let's say like a 50 mil heel of a chef knife, a lot of heat can build up because there's a lot of being in contact with the blade. Which is why, quite often, you put a big wheel on instead because there's less contact. It keeps everything a little bit cooler. I'd imagine a 4x72 would generate a hell of a lot of heat, and you'd have to be very careful with it. I've never used anything bigger than a 2x72, so I'm not positive. But to me, I think maybe a 2x72 is pretty optimal. Maybe longer belts, but maybe not wider belts. But yeah, I don't know. I can see Mareko sort of nodding along there. What do you think, Mareko?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I can imagine somebody would want a 4-inch wide platen is because they're struggling to keep things flat. And I think that means to me that they just need a little bit more practice keeping things clean. But the way I grind, I spend a lot of time with my hands actually anchored kind of on the backside or on the side of the platen. And if it was 4 inches wide, it would, I can't see that. I mean, I could probably make it work, but I'm pretty happy with the 2x72. I don't know, like Buster, rip those 2-inch wheels off and put on 4-inch wheels and see what happens. You can go to Combat and they'll make you some custom 4-inch wide by 72-inch belts.
Those aren't like abnormal belts, by the way. I mean, my last metal shop, we were a metal finishing shop, and we were using stroke sanders with 6-inch belts that were 25 feet long, or we were using like 36-inch. We were using 36 by 4. That's not abnormal.
Right.
Honestly, if there was, I liked using those stroke sanders because you're using less abrasives. I mean, you're more contact with fresh abrasives. So if there was a 4x72 grinder, I would probably use it because I want to get the job done faster. I don't know obviously the belts are more expensive, and I don't know if you're gaining more time and energy, but I mean, I've used bigger belts and, they're pretty slick too, but I've been really.
When you've got something so sensitive to heat, such as a blade, though, I think you can be generating twice the heat, really, because, like you said, you're going through that much more abrasive. So, I don't know. In practice, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. But he's got a second part to that question too. If we had to make a guess, and he hopes it doesn't happen anytime soon, but who do you think would be first to leave the show? If any of us were to leave the show, I'd say, truthful, honest answer. We record this at 9 o'clock on a Friday for me. 8 p.m. on a Friday, every Friday, I'd say is probably going to be me. But come 10 p.m. on a Friday, I'm like, I'm so glad I did it. So yeah, I don't think any of us are leaving soon. We're all good.
That's a tough question. I would probably say it would be you too, because I think you'd be sick of doing it. Not only because you don't like it, but like it is a lot of work, and I always feel guilty when I send you my full blast stuff to post. So I'm always waiting for you to say, you know what, I'm spending too much time doing this.
No, this show is a welcome break for me from other distractions, and it's a good sit down like I said before the show, every time I'm like, oh, I got to the show tonight. Oh no, but I know that the minute we finish, I'm on a high, and that keeps me going until the next week. So yeah.
Look at you.
I ain't going nowhere.
Hey, by the way, we're coming up on our 200th episode. We better do something.
We are. Yes, we're on 194, I think now. Yeah,
something like that.
We're close. We are close. suggestions in the chat. What should we do? What should we do?
Oh boy, I bet these suggestions are going to be real doozies. Real doozies.
We've set them a challenge. Baracco, do you want to take maybe one more question, and then we'll take. Can you see Moonshine Metalworks? Steve's question.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. And also, thank you to Moonshine. He sent me a message after the last podcast about trying to help take care of my body because I've been struggling with a lot of aches and pains lately. All right. So he says, we all know, but by now, a good quality sandpaper, Rhino Wet by Indasa USA, Knife Talk 10 promo code, by the way, can make a huge difference to your workflow and productivity. What other simple things are worth spending that little bit extra on to increase workflow and productivity?
Shoes. Good, comfortable shoes in the shop. You're going to be spending a lot of time on your feet. You need good shoes in the shop. Spend a little bit more and you'll be good to go.
I think it's attitude. I think attitude is the most important thing. I think that's your number one thing to get you through the day and meet your goals and meet your expectations.
Shoes.
You had your shoes. Take your shoes and get your bananas and come on, man. Eat your 1,000 bananas. But seriously, like I've had, and I was thinking about when we were talking about the 4-inch belts. I was using 36x4 before I had my 2x72s, and it was working okay. It wasn't working great, but it was always my mind frame in regards to what needed to be done per hour and per half day and per day. So then reaching my expectations was the way to be more efficient. And I knew what I could do one day and then, fine tune it so I could kind of match that or do better the next day. It's always mindful because you can figure out the hand sanding, you can figure out all that other stuff, but it's always like the efficiency of where your mind. That's what I think.
For Steve specifically, spend a little bit more on your coffee. That own brand shit that you served me. I don't know if it was the coffee or it was your technique, but a little bit more, either better coffee or just a bit more time and effort into the coffee, Steve. Come on.
Don't you guys have Nescafe there in the UK?
We do. And I'm pretty sure Steve could have served me the stuff that they're using to etch the steels in. It tastes fucking terrible.
I would say when it comes to something you spend a little bit more money on, I think buy yourself a few extra belts. Because honestly, like I used to be way too precious with belts. And once I started treating them like they were free, as we've said lots of times before, I instead of spending a ton of time at a certain grit, I was blasting through because not only was I also buying more belts, I was buying more steps in between. Because I used to try to go from like 60 to 220 to 400, and then hand sand from there. But once I started using 36s and also 120s in between some of those steps, I don't really do 320s, but occasionally I do a 600 on my blades before hand sanding. It just made such a huge difference. It made the grinding go faster on a single blade. And then when it came to the hand sanding, I'm coming off the machine at 4 or 600 grit. So then I start at 4 or 600 grit, and it makes the hand sanding super easy.
Yeah, definitely don't scrimp on belts. It's a false economy doing that, I think. Yeah, we've got a few ideas in the chat for our 200th episode. First of all, Rainy Day Ford says, congrats on 200 shows. Dustin Springfield is obsessed. 200, get on Forged in Fire for a special. He's obsessed with that show. What else we got? Have a fines meeting with penalty drinks.
It's a fines meeting. What's that?
Not quite sure.
We should be drinking while we do this podcast. Is that what he says?
Oh, geez. In moderation. Rainy Day Ford says another build along. Maybe that could be quite fun. Dustin says file guide. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about there, but
Oh, that was what he was saying. It was efficiency when we were back on the
right, back on efficiency. Yes,
yeah.
Yeah, we'll do something for our 200th. I'm sure of it. I am sure of it. But back to efficiency. Starting with Steve's original question, regard to Rhino-Wet. Where can people get Rhino-Wet?
If you go to Texas Farrier Supply, you will find not only Rhino-Wet, but you'll find a lot of other things, supplies that you can use to make your knife making easier. And if you put in promo code Knife Talk 10, you're going to get 10% off all your stuff, especially that Rhino-Wet. Go get yourself the 220. Go get yourself the 400. Get yourself the 800. Knock out some 2500 in Dasi USA, and you get it all at Texas Farrier Supply.
Nice.
Using promo code Knife Talk 10.
Nice. Dustin's come up with another great idea. You could do a cook-off. Bring it back for the 200th. Maybe.
I have a better idea. We should have a star-studded call-in show. That's what you did for the 100th.
We did.
Remember you got everyone to record stuff?
Yes, yeah.
We could do whatever makes it easier. We could have call-ins, or maybe we could have people do, voice messages. We could play.
Yeah. We got
Think
6
about
weeks. We'll come up with something. We got 6 weeks. Now we're doing video. Maybe we could be more creative with something. I don't know, but yeah, we'll think of something. I'm sure.
I could have my urology exam while we're doing this.
Stream it live.
Yeah, I'll buy a bag of bananas. Yeah, we'll
Bag? I thought you only need one though. You don't need a whole bag. You're on one, man. You're on the one.
Oh, geez. Right, I think that's a show. Hour and 40 minutes. We're getting longer each week. Thank you all so much for listening. We shall speak to you all again next week. Remember, if you listen to this during the week, remember you could get involved by joining us on a Friday for the live recording. But if you're listening, thank you very much, however you may be listening. Reviews, all that kind of stuff, it's always good for us. So whichever podcast app you're listening to, go ahead over there. If you're watching now on YouTube, subscribe, give us a comment or what. I don't know what you meant to say. I'm not one of these young YouTubers. I'm not sure what you meant to say, but help us out, whatever you can do. Thank you all for listening. We shall speak to you all very, very soon. Bye for now.
This show is brought to you by The Makery, the podcast network for makers.
I like the new bit. What do you think?
I like it. It gets deep. Yeah, gets deep.
6 inches.
Yeah. So deep, put our ass to sleep. Yeah, it's always good. Yeah. Well, you're gonna take from listeners as well their questions.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, even when I'm going through like the, part of me is like I try not to spend too much time preparing for the show. So like I'll snatch stuff up, I'll kind of skim them, and I'll think, oh, that'll be fine. And then I read them, and I'm just like, why didn't I fucking put that one? I hate to say it, but it's sometimes it becomes like the hot takes. I mean, some of them are just so fucking bad. It's like I can't even. And then they'll say to me, well, why didn't you read mine? I'm like, it sucks. So it's like I have to like take it, and that's why in full blast, I don't ask for you have questions for people. It's like these I can't count. I'm sorry to the listener, but sometimes I feel like I can't count on you to give me good shit.
Yeah. We are doing less and less questions each week, that we've received. But I think a lot of that is just because we've maybe answered the same questions, so many times now. And, there's only so many questions that people could have. But yeah, I think that new bit's good. It sort of promotes discussion and it's good.
I've always wanted the questions or the unsolicited advice or the hot takes to get you guys to like say something maybe you haven't said before, because this is the fucked up thing about podcasts. And we can talk about podcasters. There are too many podcasters, PS. Like our shit is getting fucking washed away and it's driving me crazy. There's too many podcasts. And I get these messages from these guys like, I'm starting a podcast. Can I listen to your pod? I've been listening to your podcast for a long time. I can do your podcast. I'm getting that message. And I'm like, okay, shithead, let's hear your fucking podcast. And then it's like 1 week mediocre, 2 weeks mediocre, 5 weeks mediocre, 10 weeks mediocre. And then it's like, I don't want to do it anymore. So we're trying to do something that we're being consistent. We've been doing this for 3 years. Is that right?
Longer, I think.
You've started it years ago, but I mean, the three of us have been doing it for like a couple of years now.
Yeah,
at least 3 years, right?
At least 3
and
years, yeah.
The idea is to be fresh and to be innovative and to try to kind of keep doing stuff. Yeah. My point is not only do I want us to not say the same things every time, but I want us to have some sort of discourse that's a little bit more engaging, because it can be, same shit, different day.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But no, it's good. I like the new bit. It's, like I said,
you have no idea.
It makes us think on our feet a bit as well. So
you have no idea the messages I get from people in podcasts. Yeah. No idea. You have no idea the garbage I'm sending. No idea.
I can imagine. I do occasionally. I do make a point of not going on the Knife Talk Instagram account. Look at the DMs, because I know a lot of them are going to be questions that you're going to be reading. But occasionally I do look, and I was like, oh fuck. Oh geez.
They're not bad. Generally, they're not bad. Once in a while, we got a couple. I got a couple from the last episode in regards to maybe it was in regards to what my agenda was in regards to me feeling bad if I made something and I personally felt like I didn't want to put something in the world that people were hurting themselves with. There was a few people who slipped into my DMs on Fader Knives who were just like a little bit extra rude. And I talked to them. I listened to them. I said, "You make a good point, but that you really don't. You're just using words that you've heard someone else say. You're not being actually very nuanced in your thinking." And you can't tell me, much like I can't tell you to get vaccinated. You can't tell me how I feel. If I feel a certain way, I feel it. You can't. I learned that from my wife years ago. Like I said something. I'm like, you don't feel that bad. And she says, "You cannot tell me how I feel." So like this guy said, you don't feel that way. You can't be responsible for inanimate objects. What people do and moral superiority and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I understand what you're saying. You're not really understanding what I was coming from.
You may feel differently, but it's not how I feel. Yeah.
I like getting you guys. I like pushing you into the corners where you admit to stuffing bananas up your butt. That's what I like. Now, I didn't think I would get. I thought you guys would fight that one a little bit harder.
No.
Yeah, I thought you'd fight that much harder. So
no, I'm all up for it. All up for it.
I know you were really up for it. Surprisingly, way more up for it than I expected.
I've had one of those weeks. I'll try anything.
Oh, but, of course.
I do think 200. We need to put our heads together. Maybe do something we haven't done before. Maybe. There's got to be something.
I mean, it would be cool if we could get people to call in, but like the problem with the call-ins is people ask, "Well, how come you're not taking call-ins anymore?"
The quality,
Dude,
you never know.
Our biggest problem on this podcast, the number one problem, is always when audio's bad. If audio's bad, it's not fun. Or it's like, are you there? Or who's there? Stand next to you. And it's just like this. It's just the brakes come on, and it's like
it's not good.
It makes everything bad. So it's like I don't blame you for not taking calls.
Yeah. So I think of something. There's got to be something we can do. Got to be something we can do. So yes, it'll be good. So how are you feeling, Morocco, after a holiday? Are you back in the swing of things yet?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was just forging a knife this morning, and it felt good. My back actually started feeling quite a bit better, or like back to normal, basically, like towards the end of the trip at the lake house. So I've just tried to be conscious of how I'm using my body and what kind of things might be stressing me out in my life outside of just regular work stuff that might be contributing to everything. And so just trying to be more thoughtful about all that stuff.
What are you guys watching on TV? Anything good?
Nothing.
Ted Lasso.
Yes,
what?
Ted Lasso season 2.
Is it good?
A new one dropped about an hour ago.
Super good. Yeah.
Is it on Apple TV?
Apple TV. It's very, very good. The music is brilliant too. They take these like classic tracks and they like do different versions of them. It's awesome. It's not a straight comedy. It's a real sort of heartstring puller. It's very, very good. Yeah. Is it a remake then of an American show? Sorry, not American. It is an American show, but I'm sure at the end it says like, loosely based on like another show or something like that. I'm sure it is. But no, it's
so
pretty good.
So I'm gonna have to get into that, huh?
Yeah, Yeah, and if you haven't got Apple TV, I think you can get
really easy to get into.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I think you can get it free for 30 days too, Apple TV, if you haven't got it. So
after pandemic, we ended up getting. I mean, we've never really had TV, and then during pandemic, we got Disney Plus, HBO Max. It's like Netflix, and I'm like, what should I watch now? And it's like a child who's never had candy, and now all of a sudden it's like. But I was watching. My old friend Carl Ruiz was friends with this guy Billy Corbin, who's doing this thing on Netflix called the Cocaine Cowboys. I watched the first episode last night about these two cocaine guys from the 80s in Florida. That's pretty good. That's really pretty good. He's Billy Corbin also did Dogfight about backyard Florida. He's this interesting like most Florida guys there's real old school Florida people who were like Florida before like Disney took over and all the people came down because there's no income tax. So like you have these classic Florida types who just know what's going on. And Billy Corbin did a show called Dogfight about these backyard fights. And then I think he did Cocaine Cowboys before. And he does a new one just came up. And the first episode was very good. Documentary.
Nice. Yeah. Right. But yeah, if you haven't got Apple TV, it's not only is Ted Lasso on there, there's like the morning show is on there, which is... There's like Apple TV isn't like Netflix. There's not like loads on there,
right?
But like what is on there is like super quality.
Really,
so really good stuff.
What's morning show?
Stuff. The morning show is Jennifer Aniston and Reese. No, Reese Witherspoon, isn't it? Reese.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and they are like anchors on it, like news anchors. But it's really good. It sounds shit. It sounds as if it's some sort of dodgy sitcom. It's not a sitcom. It's quite deep. It's really good. Very, very good. What else on Apple TV did I love? The one with the podcast killers. Jesse from Breaking Bad is in it. And yeah, it starts about like a podcast crime thing. She writes this podcast, but then she's called in to deal with these murders. It's very, very good. Very good.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, highly advised. Get Apple TV, even if it's just free for the 30 days. And Ted Lasso is great.
Is it really good? Was he a soccer player, soccer coach, or something like that?
He's an American soccer coach, but then comes to the UK.
American football.
Yes, American football coach, but then comes to coach what you would call soccer in the UK. Really good, but very authentic too. They're using proper stadiums, and it's really good.
So it's like a culture clash.
Yeah. Very good comedy, but that's it. Pulls on your heartstrings.
Speaking of culture clash, I sent a picture to Craig. A new restaurant opened up in my town, and it's Delicioso Fanny. I'll pull it up. I don't know these people.
I can pull it up here, I think.
Yeah, you pull it up. You pull up the picture, but it's funny I think it's funny to the people. Okay, but it's not as funny here because we don't refer to a fanny as a vagina. So can you find it?
No, I can't.
All right, I have it. All right, well, I'll warm them up. But it's like I sent it to. It's called La Delicias de Fanny. La Delicias de Fanny, which I don't speak Spanish, but it looks like it means either the delicious vagina or the delicious or the delicatessen of Fanny, which is either Fanny's a person or. I sent it to a few people from the UK, thinking maybe they would find it to be funny. And the people from the UK thought it was very funny. Owner said, "Oh, for fuck's sake." Steve Moonshine Metal says, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And I promised the both of them if they ever come here, we'll take them out. I'll take them for dinner.
Yeah. No, I can't bring it up. But yeah, it's basically
delicious Fanny.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck to them. I seriously hope that, I hope business is good.
A tasty vagina. Yes.
There you go.
Taco Tuesday every night.
Yeah. Taco Tuesday. God damn it. Jesus.
Well,
I didn't realize that fanny was a reference to a vagina.
Yeah.
So when you guys talk about fanny packs or, I fell on my fanny, That is the funniest thing for a Brit to hear because it's just schoolboy.
So nobody names their daughters Fanny.
Not since Fanny Craddock, who was like the first sort of celebrity cook back in probably the 1920s. That's the last. It's the last Fanny I remember.
That's not what I heard. Yeah, because I mean, I remember we were in Winchester, and my wife and I were with our friends, and my wife said, "Should I bring my fanny pack?" And they're like, "Oh no, please don't. Put your pants on. Don't pack your fanny." So
yeah, strange. We should do that. Should be a bit on the show actually about sort of Britishisms that don't translate well to Americans and vice versa, because there's plenty. I can't think of any off the top of my head now, but
I can, because I had Ben Snur and Honor Kagler on, and there was a story about this YouTube chef who implicated himself and was arrested, and they found him because of his YouTube channel, and it was YouTube chef busts himself on this cooking channel, and the owner said, "That's pretty funny." He said, "Why is it so funny?" Because bust yourself means you kind of give yourself the old 5-finger discount. You know what I'm saying? You roughed up the suspect.
You oversalted the sauce. You did, yeah.
So there's all sorts of little things.
Yeah. And on that, I think I need to go. I need to go. But yeah, that was a good show. It went really well. Hopefully now we've got our audio sort of synced on QuickTime, and we won't have to use this audio again from Restream. Although, saying that, this is the best audio I think we've probably had in weeks and weeks. So yeah.
Today?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. So we're all good. Yeah, if you can email me over the file, your QuickTime file, and we're good to go. Right.
Should we do a clap at the end to sync? I don't know if you guys did one at the beginning.
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, that would help me actually. 1, 2, 3.
I don't know why there's such a delay with Mareko. I don't know why there's such a delay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Sorry.
Maybe he's just got really bad rhythm. Who knows? After all this time.
You can ask my wife.
Oh, please. On that note, let's call it a day. Thank you all for watching. Bye now.